Cindy, we're good?
Mhm.
Okay. So calling the meeting to order at 6:09. This is the work session. We're going to, for those of you who don't attend a lot of meetings, we're going to be doing our work session where you can observe, and then we're going to do public hearings right afterwards. So we're going to start with order of business, what we've been doing in village. So first item, update on the playground equipment. So the playground's in, picnic table is waiting to be assembled this weekend, and that's that for the playground equipment. Laptop for the open meeting. Code enforcement is here, but not being used. Correct? Oh, it is? You got it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Update on code enforcement vehicles. We've got new one is out at the vendor again for here, and the other one will be approved for auction. We're looking at starting with 6,000, and then from there we'll see how we and circle back. Update on court grant. That's the estimate's all approved. Got the vendor ready to start and is waiting for him to give us dates. Hopefully next couple of weeks, start that work. Natural gas.
National gas right now is going to run down Washington and Chestnut. We have been approved. They are ready to start. I'm hoping that they get it done before the season. If anyone who's on Washington or Chestnut would like gas, they can apply, but we're not taking, well, I'm taking the applications and holding them, but it's, they're only accepting the people who were approved to the install. And right now I have 3 people on the waiting list. If someone drops out, the first person will be able to join only on Washington and Chestnut. The second person can join if the next person drops out, but they're not allowing any, so we have to stay at the quota that we have and go from there. So I just talked to him yesterday. We have one person on Walnut who's at the end of the service, she's interested in gas. They're not gonna probably approve her, but he's gonna go and see how far the line comes up Chestnut and if it's possible. Yeah, it's not about the other capacity. Okay, so, but he's gonna answer. Okay, so.
Okay, so virtual meeting policy. I think for now, we've got a lot of stuff to chat about. Joe circulated the revised one that had to be, right, Joe?
Yeah, so under the law that was passed in June by the governor and the legislature, it was a modification of the open meetings law. All the villages are required to adopt the policy. So regarding virtual meetings, so I did prepared a policy that I circulated in draft form for you to review. So please comment on it, and then maybe at the next meeting we can talk about adopting it. Okay.
What was the biggest change that they made?
The biggest change that they made was that you can have what's technically what is a virtual meeting, so that you can even be in different places. But there's one condition though, that if you're going to do that, if a trustee is going to count towards the quorum, or if they're going to want to vote in the meeting from a different location, they have the address where they are has to be part of the public notice, and it has to be available to the public to come to where they are and attend with them actually. So if you're as an example, if you're at your home or your office and for some reason you can't get to the meeting, but you want to participate, then you have to list the address of where you are, and the public has to be able to go to that place and attend.
Were there exceptions like stickers?
Well, those exceptions are the exceptions to the requirement to be at the meeting. I'm sorry, to be at the village hall. So there are certain exceptions, that, such as, incapacity, disability, things like that, due to illness or otherwise, that you can't get to the village hall. So then you can participate from, say, your home or your office. But you have to list that place then as a place where the public can come.
But only on vote. If there's a forum, don't participate.
That's
Is that
correct, yes.
So can we just clarify, so if you're sick, you would have to make your house as a public sick or to vote?
In order to be counted in the form or voted.
Living room, you sit.
They're not gonna wanna come if you're sick, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, so then, but if you just open it up, you open it up. All right, did anybody have any comments that they wanted to go through or to push this to the next meeting? I personally didn't see many changes, but I think we probably, maybe put in our comments, voted in, on next month. But yeah.
That's fine.
We have a date that we have to comply.
No, because there's currently an emergency order from the governor still in effect, and that expires in 2 weeks and will likely be continued again. So there's no deadline to adopt the plan. No.
Good. Good. All right, special events policy permit. So, that's the one that we circulated. I think we're down to our final draft. I'd like to, unless anybody has changes after we took the last look at it, I'd like to that adopt it tonight. To let the audience know, we've revised the special event permit application. It's been a long time, changed it, not that much, mostly just being a little bit more clear with the rules as far as parking goes, garbage removal, because I want to make sure that the residents who take out the parks, they have a good knowledge of how the parks need to be left treated during the event, so that residents who are just using the park can still enjoy it despite the other events going on. And that's going to be available. Okay, Fort Jefferson Harbor Mission, July 13th report. I got a report from John Lane, village liaison, at the harbor management meetings, and following the report from July 13th, 2022. Number one, there were no significant boating incidents or accidents in the harbor. Number two, town has received its new, larger, and more capable patrol boat. Its predecessor will be located at Mount Sinai Harbor. Number three, so this is Bay Constabulary. Huh? Oh, thank you. The Bay Constabulary staff continues to be seriously understaffed. Currently, there are 3 authorized but unfulfilled positions. This is due to budgetary restrictions, resignations, and lack of candidates. 4 pay levels are a prime. Sophie, Fort Jefferson Harbor, and report. That was what we got. Thank you very much to Mr. Lane for providing it. And that's where we are. Okay. Now, short-term rental policies. Which we will be having a public hearing on shortly. So, second one. I thought that most residents who are here know or are interested in more information, have seen public notices and are here for this. But just to give everybody who might be here for just attendance or wants to have a little bit more of an overview, I kind of put together a little framework. Okay, so the village received several complaints this summer about short-term rentals. In total, 3 co-op homes were listed on short-term rental platforms, Airbnb, VRBO, Bookings.com, there's a bunch. Complaints received were for 2 of the 3 properties, and most of the concerns were about noise, parking, trash management, and unusual activities such as parties. So, something I didn't know, by definition, a short-term rental is any type of rental with a term of 29 days or less. Is that right, 29 or 30?
29 or less.
29 or less. These types of rentals are considered commercial use, and commercial use is currently prohibited in Hopewell. Beyond that, Hopewell doesn't have a specific short-term rental protocol or policy in place. Why we think it's time to get something more formal in place. The first decision is going to be whether to ban short-term rentals outright or allow them enough regulation in place that they don't undermine the village's character as a year-round residential. The next decision is going to be how to efficiently enforce that first decision. Pros and cons to both approaches. From my perspective, I narrowed it down to 2. The biggest pro is that short-term rentals would allow residents, long-time residents now on fixed incomes, or residents facing financial hardships, to generate the money that might make or break their ability to continue living. On the flip side, biggest con to short-term rentals is that they may exacerbate specific issues such as street parking, non-resident misuse of common areas such as beaches and parks, and it would also place a heavier burden on our mostly part-time administrative and code enforcement staff. So that's the overview. Comments from the board? Thoughts?
Well, I've looked into a lot of the pros. I've looked into a lot of the cons. I'm very much on the fence how I feel on a personal level. I mean, I wouldn't Airbnb my house, but I'm very interested to hear what the community wants as far as Airbnb. Because I feel that would really help us decide what kind of policy we're going to do. What the people living here in Coquot really want.
I agree. I think it's time to create a law. I too, Jacqueline, I'm open to hearing feedback. I'm on the fence. So, make a case for either way, either banning it or regulating and restricting. One thing I'm struggling with is the commercial use aspect. You know, we recently voted not to allow cannabis sales in our village. Said we don't want any of that commercial type properties or being able to sell and have transient people out. We don't have any other commercial use, exception of Dr. George and grandfather 200s. Don't allow attorneys or doctors or dentists or architects having clients come in and out. So I'm not sure why we should allow this business. Personally, I spoke to several real estate agents. I wanted to see if it's going to impact our property values one way or another. And the general consensus that I'm hearing from approachers both outside the village is that if we ban it, it probably won't negatively impact our property values and maybe even exclusivity. Because what I'm hearing is that most people don't want an Airbnb right next door to them. They're a little concerned about the quality. So, but, really, we're here to hear what you guys want to.
So, I really want to be able to part, the burden that every on the plate, and there are pros to that, and there are cons. But you've gone, opening up a commercial platform will open up other things that I think that no one has thought about yet. That's something that we consider is if it's allowed it, where will that stop and how to consider as again, I think that's one of that live that's our job is to give the residents a voice.
So before we switch over, Joe, as far as commercial, as far as what other villages, comparable, not a seasonal vacation town, are mostly residents, but things like Airbnbs are happening all over. How are other comparable handled? How do they, there an argument to make commercial private property?
Well, what's argued sometimes, what's argued sometimes in opposition to these laws is that, even though it's short term, it's still a residential. It still should be considered a residential use. I mean, that's not my opinion. With that, but that's one of the things that's often said. And then another thing that's said is that, and again, this is my opinion, it's a typical argument against it is that it's an unconstitutional, taking of property to regulate how somebody uses it. So that those are two things that are often said against, regulations. One other thing, although this could be addressed in the law, is that often an inspection is required. But we can, what's been held in a recent case that I was involved in is that provided you allow for a code certified professional, like an architect as an example, to certify that every house is to code or safe, as an alternative to an inspection, then that will be upheld, then the law will be upheld. So the other side of it legally is the impacts on the neighbors, the fact that the argument that it is a commercial use. The platform, the platform that it's on, that these are often done on, is pretty much recognized as a commercial platform. And those, those are the markets.
One more. So if we were, every decision we make, whether it's to ban it or to restrict it or control it or regulation, we decide that someone's not adhering to the law, and we have a fine policy. Now, there's proper policy either way, whether you said X number of dollars for first and second, whether you have a full restricted policy or a ban. Is that correct? Or can we have a more robust fine policy restrict rather than limit?
Yeah, yes. So the fine policy, it's really what the fine should be more related to the facts that are determined or the flagrancy of the violation. So that's why often there's a step up. For as an example, the first violation might be $1,500, the second violation $5,000, $7,500, and every day that the violation is in existence is a separate offense. But normally it would be a separate they would be the same for regulation and a ban because it's a violation of the law. Yeah, but, outright bans are difficult, are difficult to deal with unless you want to stick with that it's a commercial use of property, and it's,
They make the argument that it's not. I spoke to somebody that, about, rent on Airbnb. For 6 months. But that, there's an argument to be made there, because platforms that finds it commercial, then is it the time frame or the platform? Because somebody could turn and say, I'm gonna rent it, I'm gonna rent on Airbnb for 6 months. I just don't wanna pay a realtor, I wanna use their platform. That nullify the commercial argument, now we're over the days, or is it still commercial? They're being as the
yes,
vehicle.
it's more than the combination of using Airbnb, you doing offering it for a 1-day rental, or weekend rental. It's the combination.
Okay. So
You're right. You can specify the 6-month rental on
on Airbnb, and then
yes.
it's no longer platforms are going same as a different real estate, right?
Right.
If we don't, you have to define a person.
That's how we do. So one of the things that I will bring to your attention is that what the New York State General Obligation Law actually had a provision where it was illegal for landlords to require the money for a rental paid up front. And again, depending on what the length of the rental was, et cetera. So that was modified a year or two ago, the General Obligations Law. And now a landlord can demand more than 1 month's rent up front or in advance, provided the municipality has a rental registry, and that the unit is registered on that with that on that registration system for the local municipality. So that's something else that we have to deal with, where many of these rentals would not be legal because the way that the rent is collected, unless we had a registration system that we currently don't have, and these units would have to be registered with that
You're
system.
saying if we were gonna say, okay, we're gonna allow it with regulations, that's another thing that we would have to consider.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. You have more questions? We're actually gonna finish, the public hearing kind of stacks kind of strangely, but we're gonna finish the working meeting, and then we're gonna open it up, so you'll have time. Try to wrap this one up. Okay. All right, okay, so that brings us to open items for the board to review, village attorney.
So there, basically, it's my report from report, which I owe remiss in not getting the core report from 2 weeks ago. But I can tell you, I will provide this in writing. So we had 2 people plead guilty to fines, and other than that, I think the work that we put on this, we have a resolution to sell, but to authorize code enforcement to sell one of the vehicles with an offset price, and that will come up in the agenda. Other than that, I don't have anything else to question.
Right. Okay, so adjourning the work session at 6:33 PM. Second. Oh, motion? Yeah, second. Okay, all in favor?
We were so good at that.
What? I did it better last time. I'm used to just seeing the second.
You are.
I'm used to seeing that fire second. Okay, all right. So, do we need a break? We move on? All right,
Keep going.
so we're gonna do the Board of Trustees meeting. We're gonna start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, okay, calling me to order at 6:34. All right, couple of announcements. Our porta potties will be on September 9th, tomorrow.
Sending you close on the forms.
I'm sorry?
Close on
What?
forms.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then-
Village Hall will be closed on Columbus Day, October 10th. Thank you. The Pope Park Community Association will be hosting another Halloween event at Trustees Park and Village Hall on Sunday, October 30th. We need volunteers for trunk or treat activities. We had a lot of great cars decorated last year, hoping to see the same. And details will be available on the popeparkcommunity.com website in the coming. Also, Pope Park Garden Club's next meeting will be Saturday, October 22nd at 11 a.m. Residents are encouraged to bring tools and compost to close out their plots. Cover crop seeds will be provided and compost will be available for $10 a bag. Okay. Sports. Dave, public safety. Nothing? Okay. The public is safe. Treasurer's report, do we have Ron on the phone?
Yes.
Yes, I'm on the phone. I hope you can hear me better than I'm hearing you. There seems to be some kind of interference on the line. But can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you, Ron.
Okay. As you know from the numbers that I sent out to you, the budget is, everything is reasonable. We have some timing differences. And we did receive funding for storm related work that shows at the bottom line as plus $46,000. But there are a lot of ups and downs for other line items that, so it isn't all exactly as budgeted, even though that's right on budget. I'm looking at a couple of numbers that are of concern given the state of the economy. One of them has to do with permits for building projects, and possibly linked to that is also a number for mortgage tax. I hope that both of, I mean, right now we've got half the mortgage tax income we budgeted for the year. I don't know if that's going to taper off as interest rates go up, but there's a good possibility of that. That may be linked to people doing work and getting approvals for building permits, which also is, I'd say, between 40% and 50% of our annual budget already this year. So I'm hoping that those won't drop off a cliff, but those are the two numbers that I would keep a close eye on in the future. But other than that, everything else seems to be more or less on track. We do have an audit adjustment that's going to be reflected with regard to the FEMA monies, but COVID money. But other than that, I think we're in fine shape, and I don't see anything of concern right now.
Okay, so that was a little tricky, so I'm just gonna, everything sounds. Okay, court report,
So the court report for the month of August, 13 cases were opened, 4 cases were closed. The court took in $360 in the month of August, and the total to date is $2,150. I'll be preparing the next court audit report in the next few weeks. I'll be meeting with Frank from Code and the court clerk.
all right. Public hearing, proposed local law of 2022, amending section 123, rental code to address short-term rentals. So, okay, just a couple of things before we get started. I just wanted to reiterate that, as you've heard, we're here to gauge resident sentiment, answer questions, just kind of back us around. We're not going to be voting tonight. We ask any residents who wish to speak, please introduce themselves, first name, last name, and your residence in Hopewell. If you happen to have a specific complaint or concern regarding a specific resident, please refrain from naming names or property addresses in this public hearing. Also, we want to give everyone an opportunity to speak, so try to keep your comments brief, concise, so that everyone has a chance as a courtesy. And if don't feel you've had enough time to detail your feelings, we will also be taking comments in the coming weeks via email or stopping into Village Hall. So with that, what happened?
I would have a motion to open the public.
Oh, shoot, okay, sorry, okay. Motion to open the public hearing, proposed local law of 2022, amending section 123 rental code to address short-term rental.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Now. You were first.
I am Jerry Gang, I was watching,
Hi.
and I have looked at, and pretty much cool. Yeah, I was hoping that we could perhaps judgment and common sense, find something to, allow, certain types of rental and perhaps not allow others. I don't think anyone is going to deny an opportunity for someone, for example, they want to rent out a room. But that's on 3 levels. One is residential, will certainly be long-term, but it's hourly. And look, that individual who owns the house, will presumably provides some sort of direct oversight for the tenant that's living in their house. The concerns, of course, with renting out a private wall, a short-term rental on whatever platform, Airbnb, hanging up a flyer down at Stop and Shop or whatever. The concerns are that you'll have individuals to come. I think that they don't necessarily have a vested interest. And it's a tremendous burden on our resources. On Sunday night, I feel a little sheepish on bringing out a third garbage because I know that our sanitation workers work very hard and they're all stressed. Another thing is 5 or 6 garbage bags. Additionally, some cardboard boxes because there was some, functional 5 families participating short term. So I think it's more reasonable. Certainly no one wants that opportunity to cut down their home for residential purposes. By the same token, I'm not quite sure that we should allow very short-term rentals. That's it's still. But thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate you.
Oh, good. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that description, so the one that you said about the people renting out a room, that's actually falls under like a boarding house, and that's not allowed, is that correct?
Yeah, it depends on how many rooms and how many people. Like that, there's probably some. Or would be,
Yeah, that's, I mean, we're, just so you know, we're currently, right? Not right now, so
Only
that's,
people related.
what's that?
Only
People related, but I think what he's saying is,
I read a piece, but I'm not sure what it was from, but
What's the name?
right?
oh, I'm sorry, can you just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like,
if everybody doesn't mind, would you mind standing up because the acoustics are better, but if you don't want to, you don't have to, because I don't like
no
standing.
problem.
And just introduce.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm in Sherman, I'm Sherman. Okay.
Oh, okay.
When I read, section that I saw about such things, boarding house, I understood it to mean that boarding house, when an in-person rents a room and has no cooking. That's what it seems to read as. Am I wrong about that? Because if a person on fixed income decides to rent out a house, their home, so I'm assuming that's so if somebody is more in the legal field, if I read it correctly.
it's a boarding house, it's a different situation. It's, some ways that it can be regulated, other ways it can't be regulated. It's a different situation.
Where does the full part sit? You know?
Well, right,
Right, you can rent the room and share a kitchen.
yeah, because we have a definition of a family which is going up to 500 people.
Okay,
So that's the U.S. Supreme Court, definition of a family is up to 500 people. So if you have one kitchen,
then it's not, then it's considered,
yeah,
okay, all right, so,
it's difficult to regulate.
okay, so, I think I just tracked by saying that we don't do it.
But a boarding house has to do with like whether the rooms are locked. There's other laws that you go into, like under the New York State
Oh, okay.
code, which I'm sure the building inspector and the code are familiar with. But if you have things like the rooms are locked, then they're considered separate living units, and that's
That's
you know,
not,
yeah, even if you have only one, there's still other things that you cannot do.
got it.
For classic example, graduate student or new college university, who lives in a room downstairs, a house that's currently occupied by the homeowner. The homeowner is there. They are finding some on-site surveillance, some oversight, and again, have the best.
So let me ask you a question, just real quick. When you had said that you don't want like short term, like, you know, what's your definition of that time frame that you would think? Is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 weeks?
Do what you came up here, is fine, 25, 29 days or less. So perhaps that's open. On my opinion.
No, you would,
Like some-
no, you had said something about, you know, people with the weekend, the one day, I think that you had mentioned that. So I was kind of just curious, like, just,
One can predict the argument, but have 90 days, certainly 90 hours.
got it, okay. All right, thanks. Anybody else? Ted?
And Master, 6 Avenue Street. I'm on the fence too about that. As our vacation going up, so respect the trash wasn't right, and that could be applied to long-term rentals. Or, you know, I've seen it already where the whole house is being rented. So, there's, you know, trash piles up, parties, and even unusual activities could be applied to homeowners. See a lot of old houses. Parties and stuff. So I think most of it. And so maybe the question I have is, could we impose a fee? Because there's a sexual burden on to somebody that's doing this. Also.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole, I can tell you without going into great detail, the decision, this is the first step, but there are tons of steps of enforcement if we decide to go in that direction. There are different, correct, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can try to mitigate it. When I said that that was the concern, I think that, you know, if it's a resident, it's a little bit easier to track if, if it's somebody who's here, and it's also easier to inform people. You know, we have residents who sometimes don't do the right thing with the garbage, don't do this, don't do that, whatever, but it's easier to tell them because they're here all the time. I think the nature of the Airbnb, they won't necessarily know, or maybe care as much about the, you know, here's the rules, don't park on the street, this and that. It's a bit more of an education when people are coming for the term. That's my opinion. But yeah, yeah.
And then apply a fee to that. And that's the code. They violate so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great.
With the amount of, I mean, the example that they go, you know, deeper extra garbage and things like that. The problem is that we bid out our contract for garbage collection space on basically a single family occupancy. You know, so if we get in the situation where if there's even a few houses that, you know, there's an issue, I'm sure that we're going to hear from the garbage, you know, the refuse collecting people. And, you know, because they price everything out on a certain level.
But then the argument for that is, so let's say I'm in my house and I have a certain amount of garbage every week, but then I'm not in my house and I'm gonna Airbnb it. It's not a given that there's going to be more garbage because people are Airbnb my house versus my family being there and having garbage. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if it would mean extra garbage.
Yeah, I wasn't arguing for that. I was just responding to the question.
Yeah.
About, charging a fee because there might be more garbage, but you're right. There might be less garbage.
We don't know.
We don't know what the situation.
Okay.
David Cat, 65 Chestnut Avenue. I've been in the village since 1988. I've seen the evolution of the village, what it once was and what it's become. Short-term rentals will be an anathema. It will destroy the basic nature of what the village has been. It's a single-family residential area. Once you allow one to other, and it will cascade, and you will regret it.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve Weisbart. I also live on a judge court. Not to repeat everything that was said, I came to the meeting tonight because I totally understand both sides of the issue. But I am in favor, you know, of having a limited amount of ban on rentals. You know, I've had the experience, which many had in this room, where you go to a hotel, most of the time, it's fine. You spend your night, you know, there's no noise, you check out, get a great stay. But you never know when you're gonna have that night stay where party next door, where you're sleeping, and all of a sudden there's loud noise. Quite frankly, I have to tell you a personal story. I lived in a rental apartment in Smithtown before I moved to Beauport. And tenant below me moved because there was a bullet that apparently went down, you know, into her floor because there was some violent activity there. And who would have known? And so, you know, when you want to, you know, I guess buy a house, you sort of buy a neighborhood, and there's something very comforting in knowing who your neighbors are. You know, it may not be tangible, but it's certainly something that I am in favor of, having your neighbor be your neighbor and not have to come home and wonder, like when you're in a hotel, who will really be next to that night. That's the reason I am in favor of limiting rentals. Again, I understand, that we're a village and this is what we decided amongst everyone's opinion and desire. But at least for my own desire and my family, I am in favor of not having a rental available.
First job, I'm very happy to do it. Short-term rental, because I think there's a clear path, possibly. Consider. I know somebody in Newport, Ellen, has property that she rents out, and Airbnb. And she limits it to people who only take, I think, for 30 days or more. Why? Because she says, I get a different type of person. And apparently it's a thing. It's a big town, beaches, whatever. They minimize bobbing, like just the simple thing of saying, 30 days. Different type of person, much more money, and you don't have these weekend parties. I also think we should focus on the behaviors that people are complaining about. We have residents who have parties, have extra garbage, they will occasionally make noise. That's vital. I think the discussion is colored a little bit by outsiders. I think that if we could focus on delineating what is expected in terms of garbage, noise. We have these things on the books already, but we say we not allow short-term rental. Days, short-term rental. Then give very specific, put into the code, very specific things that our code enforcement guys can act on. And we have a fee structure that must be answered by the landlord. Everybody, every property in Oakland is owned by someone. We have to make sure that we let it be known that that person is ultimately responsible, i.e. financially responsible. And we have a fee structure where they go, whoa, can't just let anybody come in, rent my place, disrupt the neighborhood, neighbors. And I have a feeling it's based upon the experiences in Newport. I have a feeling it's going to largely take care of itself just by saying it's got to be 30 days more. 29, but 30 days.
I think we need that, like, that's great, and if that were the, I mean, that's definitely an option. But 30 days, right now, somebody can do that. Once you get past that 30 day, am I right? It stops being short-term rental. So now you're into long-term rental. So I can go get a permit for a rental right now. And it doesn't have to be, it's up to me how long the lease is, as long as it's more than 29 days. I can make it a 3-month rental, a 6-month rental, or a year. We don't have any hard rules about that.
But we could proscribe that it can't be less than 29, 30 days, or whatever you say.
So then you're saying ban short.
That would be
Banning the short-term rental while still allowing people to have the option of getting extra income, having families take over the house, or sometimes go on vacation for 30 days and have somebody else there. If they're not misbehaving, then it gets down to misbehavior. That's really what I'm hearing, is talking about all these negative ramifications of having outsiders come in. So outsiders come in all the time. We only know that they misbehave. So I just think that whatever you decide, ultimately, you should focus on making sure that we as a village have control over the behavior. I think it starts with making sure that we don't have weekend parties coming in. And, the national structure of that is that they charge fishing. And so they can take a place for whatever, that doesn't matter. Split up. So, we want to eliminate that, and I think that would take away a lot of that problem.
Anybody else? Kim?
Hey, I'm Kim Pope. Can everyone hear me? I don't really want to say. Anyway, I live at 3 Babies Court. I moved in 2017. I'm pretty familiar with both because I grew up here. I learned how to swim here, and I spent lots of summers actually beaches. And I do agree with a lot of things that everyone has to say about pros and cons, and what bothers you about things, and what's troublesome, and then the other aspects of short-term rentals. To your point, where you were talking about Pennsylvania was having 5 families in a home. I think that that's outrageous, and I'm not sure that that is something that anybody should do. So I agree with that. However, I'm on the fence with saying that rentals are out. And when I first moved in, there were several rental properties in my area that were extraordinarily unkept, to the point where I felt like banning all rent. Because I was like, why are these renters here? My house is beautiful. Why is this thing not? And unfortunately, I had to live with that for 365 days a year. And they were partying, spraying, and vomiting on the neighbor's parking. And their children were running all around, half naked, snow behind. So I had to deal with that for 365 days. Thank God they left. Moving forward, regarding Airbnb, short-term, these people have to put their homes up on Airbnb. They have to show photographs. They have their houses cleaned. They charge a lot of money for it. And the reality is, they're a lot cleaner than a lot of the rentals in my neighborhood, because they don't get rentals unless their house is pristine. So I'm kind of torn with saying, it shouldn't be allowed, because the ones that I have seen are actually really nice. So, define short term. New York State says it's 29 days or less, right? So, but for our purposes, I think we're going to come up with something that might be reasonable. And I think that putting sanctions on these perhaps short-term rentals, most is reasonable, because nobody wants to live in a neighborhood where people are running around, and nobody wants to live next to a big party. But granted, we all have parties. I've been to them. And there's, 20, 30, 40, 50 people in like somebody's backyard, and we're allowed to have fun. And so should everyone else, within reason, right? So anybody that rents should help to have ability to make it. But again, this is just something that the board should have to determine as to what would be appropriate. So those are my thoughts on that. There's a couple of other things that I was thinking about, regarding the influx of people in it. There's complaints about that. We have a tremendous amount of influx as it is as a result of the pandemic. Everyone's addicted to DoorDash. I have people driving up and down my road with their gigantic hazard lights on, looking for homes. This is something that happens. Sometimes people, everyone seems to forget how to cook. But that's the reality, and this is the world we live in, right? So those are my thoughts on it. As far as moving forward with or without short-term rentals, perhaps, for people who rent, they should even be full-time renters. They don't actually have access to just things like this, but maybe they should be charged a little bit more money for, like the football ted, to maybe use the tennis court or something like that. That was something else that I. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with short-term rentals because, like I said, their houses are neater than some of the ones in my. They're far more kept.
Someone's there for 4 days. And there is someone in the rules and regulations.
That should come back to the owner.
Someone owns the house. One doesn't want that.
Oh, and then, yeah,
then there's
yeah, where's your point on that? And one thing that I did fail to mention in my thought process regarding short-term rentals is that I feel that there should be a limit as to how long these things can go on. You know, I don't think it's unreasonable to understand that we live in, and that it's a beach neighborhood, it's a beach town, it's a harbor town, lots of boating, lots of work. And, you know, perhaps maybe limiting time frame of when someone did sort of rental. Maybe make it May to September. That's it. Or you know, June, July, and August. That's it. Anything after that is out. So there's a possibility and there's room for discussion regarding when these things should be available and how long they should be available for them. And I agree with disturbances in the neighborhood. That should be it's unacceptable, first of all. It should not be permitted. There should be some sort of structure to perhaps pull their permit. If they continue to have these violations, they have to get their permit pulled, because that's not fair that live next to them. And I agree with that 100%.
All right. Sorry to
That's
cut
okay.
you off, but I want to make sure that everybody else has a chance to talk. And let's talk, I mean, I'm not trying to not have you guys discuss amongst yourselves, but we kind of have to point it this way a little bit, because go sideways, we're all going to start. So who's next?
Is this from the general person?
You have to stand, you don't have to stand, but you can just tell who you are and where you live.
Walnut.
Yeah.
Okay. One, success that you had in regulating long-term nuisance, noise nuisance, garbage. I mean, does the board, does the town, I really don't know, I've been here a long time, I probably should know, but how successful are you in actually regulating the long-term?
I think we're pretty, I think we're pretty successful. Generally, most of the, and I can't say every single house in Folklore, but I think most of the houses in Folklore that have rentals, they comply with permits, they allow our inspectors to come in. You know, from my experience, since living here, we've had or even being on the board, we've had very few incidents where tenants, landlords have been, you know, really terrible or breaking the rules. I think for the most part, people, it's a nice community and people try to comply. And I think even people who are renting long term, I think for the most part, does anybody feel differently? That it's been, you know, every once in a while you get a bad egg, but that's with anything. You mean, well, here's the thing. The bottom line is we're not gonna walk away from tonight. And at the end of the day, we decide that we're going to find a place for short-term rentals in Folklore. We're not just gonna go, all right, go ahead, you know, we'll definitely have to come up with laws and rules, policies, just like we did for the long-term rentals. In fact, you know, in my opinion, they're probably gonna be more laws and for the shorter-term rentals, just because of the nature of the frequency, the increase of what it's gonna do for code enforcement, for the staff. There's gonna be more parameters, I would think, you know? But I think, to answer your question, I think long-term rentals are mostly smooth. Okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead. You're here.
And reward. Why create problems for ourselves? Why create rules, regulations, restrictions, modifications, etc.? Simply say, no, we're not going to allow.
Deirdre Cronin for Silver Beach Court. I haven't fully formed my opinion on this and came tonight to hear your thoughts. I am wondering if we choose to ban short-term rentals, have we sought information from other villages who have done the same thing to see if there have been lawsuits or if this has been contested, or is that part of the due diligence going forward? Could you hear me? It's hard to hear you. Oh, I can't hear you.
So, we're at the early stages of this, we're at the early stages of this process where, I think the board wanted to gauge the public opinion and get input. But I guess my profession, I represent many villages in Suffolk County, several of which have, these laws and that have been, also have been litigated successfully. So I know the elements of the law, if we choose to do that, that have to be included. And I'm familiar with the other villages, what they've done, and I will advise the board. Based on what comes out of this meeting tonight, and the questions that the board has, I will advise the board. I do have that experience for the village.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Pretty much, and had a follow-up question about that. My understanding of
Can you say who you were? We couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I don't have a loud of a voice, so.
But everybody know where she is.
I have a question about that, and it was, my understanding from earlier was that, short-term rentals actually currently are not allowed because they're considered commercial. Is that correct?
We would, I'm sorry. That would be, what you would envision as a short-term rental.
So 29 days or less is actually not allowed
Yeah,
because it's commercial.
without commenting specifically, because there may be, investigations that are taking place now that I don't want to get into or affect, but it probably would rise to an enforcement issue, yes.
Okay, and then I just wanted to voice my, my thoughts on it as well. So everybody here, I see the pros and the cons, the pros in terms of, people who are on fixed income, providing an extra source of income for them. However, I think that extra source of income also can come from a longer term rental. I am not in favor of the short-term rentals because I feel that it does create an extra burden, as has been voiced by a number of individuals already. You don't want, it's just not a fun situation to be in, that every weekend you don't know who your neighbor is going to be. You don't know how many people. These are all individual, these are family homes, but on Airbnb, they are, up to 10 to 14 people can be living in a family home where normally, there are 4 or 5 people living. And the individual, they charge a certain amount. You have 12 people come in, they pay $50 a night. That's very cheap. I think it adds a strain that you don't need to have in our village. That was my.
Thank you. Anybody else? Al?
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Al, 7 JB Court. I've been here since 2020. And a lot of people, they say you won't understand until you walk in the shoes of that person. I'll tell you, I walk in the shoes of a person that actually lived next to her house that was there in the Great South Bay, right on the water, overlooking beautiful Abbey Harbor, public harbor. And the benefits, and again, I'm on the fence with this, and there are a lot of bad things that happen as well. Now, where we live in Bayview, on Bayview Court, I can tell you right now, in the surrounding areas, it's a big issue with Airbnb, and I'll tell you why. The roads are very small. We have a lot of children. I still have 2 children, and she's, yeah. We have my friend Jeremy moved here as well. I'm sure he's going to talk. He's got 3 on his 2. I have Christian, I have Avery, we have Chase. We have about 15 kids that just live around our blocks alone. And my biggest concern is not only the garbage, it's the concern, the safety of our children.
Why do we have bikes? I know now bikes should be ridden on the streets, but we don't have sidewalks. So what do kids do? Sometimes they go out on the street, they drive, they play, skateboard, and that's what Pope Pride is to me. I moved here and I love it. There are kids playing out on the streets. And now will Airbnb affect that? 100% it will. As I walk in the shoes of a person that lived next door, I had people that were great. I rent Airbnb. I went out with a couple of Airbnb. And it's amazing. But everyone's different. Every individual that rents a house Airbnb is different. You'll have younger kids, older people, families. It depends, and it's very hard to screen that. And if you look up a research on Google, if you do Google research on Harvard and many other research studies have shown that Airbnb last year had a big issue with rentals, and how many people had so many about who was renting these houses and apartments and rooms. And it became a real nuisance for them. And they have a lot of legal matters, so I'm sure you're aware of as an attorney for many villages. As I think a village of small villages down in Hindtown is you can't screen it. It's very hard to screen Airbnb rentals. And unless you widen those streets on Cedar, Walnut, and I don't know how that's going to be possible. It's going to be a big issue with children. Again, I'm on the fence with this, but my issue is how are we going to resolve the safety of our neighborhood and our kids playing on the streets? That's it. Really, again, when I rented out, my neighbors rented out the house in Airbnb. We had people in our backyards that were having big parties that were in our backyards at night, camping in our backyard. It was cool. I didn't care about it. I didn't have fun. Their kids. Having fun. I didn't want to see stuff like that. But again, do we want that stupid stuff to happen?
Thanks, Al.
God bless.
Susan?
Susan Scarsky, Maple Avenue. I have to say pretty much categorically opposed to short. The gentleman said, why start something? Also, I think there's areas, we're in a very tight congested area, so sounds carry very, very easily. And to face, have to wake up and go, okay, what's it? And to your point about controlling Airbnbs, the rentals, I just I just did a VRBO rental. And as the person being a renter, all I had to do was go and get the code. And the key was there. It didn't even have to be me. I could have said, oh, I'm going to do this for my, a bunch of kids. And so I think you have very little control. You might, even though there's a screening process for people that rent, you get a review as a renter, you get an owner. The truth is that all you have to do is once you pay the money, get the code, the key code, anybody. And I agree. I think it's taxing on the resources, particularly of the code officers. Regarding even with long-term rentals, I have, I think it's not like it's been issue-free, but at least you go to the people you're going to be there, they're going to be there for a while, you go and talk to them, straighten it out. Whereas, do you really want to be waking up on Saturday going next door to say, you guys were like partying and I couldn't fall asleep and I had an important, my kid had an important test to go to or an SAT, whatever it is. So I'm categorically against it.
All right, thank you. Fran?
I'm thinking that people should have the right to use their property to generate. I also feel that one thing that we're missing is we're talking about short-term rentals and things that we've had success with long-term. But if I feel like no one really wants to. They do it for money. They need to generate income. I feel that before I would own a short-term rental, I would discuss a way to generate. Maybe with the legal that's project. Somebody's building money. stay in their home without generating income, maybe we have that already with success with, because that would be a middle ground to open up, people to generate income without introducing transient area.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that issue dealt with years ago? And it's been outlawed? Additional apartments in a single family, non-family members?
Yes.
That's not allowed to go. Outlawed. It should remain outlawed.
All right, anybody else? Jeremy? Yes, stand up, you gotta tell us you came in late, you have to
Yeah,
tell us
sorry.
who you are and where you live.
First,
Last
social
name.
security numbers, bank account numbers.
What's that?
No.
Bank account numbers.
Being legal.
It was baby's crying. I'm Jeremy Plant, 38 Chestnut. We moved in about a year and a half ago. I've got a direct or personal kind of aspect of our home is direct across now. In the process of renting this out. So I have a personal also as a homeowner. I have a home force about just from a very transient area, South Florida. Destination, so I'm very used to the area. And personally, from the research I've done, it doesn't bring anything positive to the area, something positive to renting. I think the village has to decide what kind of differently. I'm not here to say do this because this is how I feel. All the village feels like want to have short-term rentals and be a vacation destination, then that's what it is. But we moved here because we felt that this was a tight-knit family. I personally would have bought my home if I possibility that seems. The price across from us has been up 2 months. There's been a different family there every weekend. Some weekends there are multiple families there. They've advertised as no events there. Catering vehicles come in at more than 3 at a time. They've got parties on multiple. How many people park down the parking lot? That's supposed to be residents. They get tickets, they get upset, ripping off down the road. I got 3 small children. It's not something I want. From a standpoint, homeowner, research has showed that all this done is crime, it's lower the value of housing. It's also hurt rental values for long-term renters. It's driven up the prices, pushing out good long-term renters. It's also lowered housing prices because it's not just good people who are looking at the advertisements. It's people who you're advertising, it's criminals that you're out of town for day X, Y, Z, right? You're also advertising to other investors who don't have the same kind of emotional side that we have to profile that you can come in here, you can list your house for this much and make this much money. I'm going to buy a property, I'm going to list it for here. It brings them values and properties throughout. And it's just state of fact. So, this is research I've done. It's a very personal matter to me. I want to rent it across that street, my house, my children, not knowing it's there every weekend. So, it just comes to a decision that that's what everybody wants. Then our family has to make a decision for us. But that's just what I should say.
Thank you.
Anybody else, Gary?
I'll keep it short. Gary, I found 14 Highview. Personally, I'm against it. Goes back to the commercial property, and this is Pandora's box. The safety officers will get involved. We'll be in litigation forever. It's the village of Long Beach banned it because they felt that they had their own police force. That's a different kind of community. There's a trendy end of Long Beach, and there's the old houses on the other end. They banned it because they can't enforce the police department. It's unenforceable. They're always in litigation. They just completely banned it. Most of the people down in the said it right. It's it's gonna be a problem. And with the part with the commercial, yeah, in the future, we don't know what else is gonna come up. We don't know what else needs to be over there. But,
Okay. All right, anybody else?
I just wanted to add that I think the major difference between a homeowner having a party and Airbnb. Renting the Airbnb, from what I can, is for 3 or 4 days expressly to party. It advertises like a vacation, but we're getting that population, private parties, everywhere. Different. And, I'm under the impression, I don't know for sure, but and Airbnb,
There's some cities that are,
I believe
I don't know if
that,
it's.
don't quote me on it, but
They have really, I actually spoke to, in New York, they have like liaisons for, spoke to the, as New York, there's all sorts of, and I can post them, but different cities have different regulations. And Airbnb, I mean, they're out to make money, but they will post what your regulations are. They'll also play ball with, like, for instance, San Francisco. San Francisco was very strict, came up with a whole, like, litany of rules. Rules.
I'm sorry, 3 people, only 3 people for
Well,
every
there's,
event.
they have rules on, I think it was San Francisco, don't quote me because I'm not sure, I researched different cities, but some cities will say, somebody had mentioned speculative investors. You can't Airbnb, you don't get a certificate for it unless you yourself have lived here for a minimum of X amount of years. You can't have more than 10 people in the house. You can't have, they have, like, an Airbnb has their own rules too. With the bigger cities, Airbnb plays ball. San Francisco says, we are gonna completely ban this unless you do it our way. And Airbnb says, sure, it's a huge city. I don't know what's going on in New York. We're a small village. I mean, will they post if we have rules? They'll post our rules. If they have certain rules, I didn't know, but they have rules like, I had no idea that Airbnb will not allow more than 16 people to occupy any house, any size, regardless of bedrooms. They limit it to 16 people. So if somebody rents a 4-bedroom to 8 people, they can have 8 guests, but they can't have 20 guests. And Airbnb is really strict on that enforcement because they have the issues with the parties. So if let's say something like that were to happen, you told them, Airbnb would actually reject them. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's not going to be the same as you having the party because I'm leaving tomorrow and it's not my house. So, but I don't know specifically what New York. Right. I don't know what New York's doing, but they do have different cities have different rules depending on, their circumstances.
City has a.
New York City?
Yeah, New York City has it also. Not only rental, short-term. So posting any type of advertising. Because everybody wants to sell. Agree to work with our city, someone doesn't want to stay out. Register with the city.
Yeah, that's kind of what San Francisco did too. So,
but that also, the other sides of that is also, that's just everything.
yeah, there's a lot of different platforms.
I see so many. I think the master and almost totally against the short and long term because all it is and then and we down in the street and there are so many cars like parked. I think some of the neighbors, I don't know, Is that what it is? Oh. And then they're gone, holidays, Thanksgiving thing, and they can all come in, like families, another big party. So, okay, of course. So that's,
Okay. All right. All right. Anybody else? Last call. Susan?
I just wanted to, just emphasize particularly about streets. You know, like sometimes there's just, I'm just worried because there are so many kids, particularly, you know, so it's, no, you live here, it's like, I gotta slow down when I go up the street because I know there's kids on bicycles and, but, you know, short-term people don't know the roads, they don't, you know, and I also wonder, I'm just thinking that during the winter time, we did have like a little kind of crime wave where people were, going into unlocked cars or maybe parked cars. And I think if you have all these people who don't know, if you're bringing in a lot of people who don't know the area, then there's more chance to pass around. Before COVID, I think nobody knew where Oakwood was. And, you know, it happened all over. Nobody knew where Stony Brook was. Suddenly, you know, everybody parking spot. So anyway, it's fine and thank you. Yeah.
All right, last call.
I have a caller too.
Well, I think I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a select group here, and some of us are voicing how we feel from.
We actually have one of you. I forgot about that. Sorry, go ahead.
How are you going to assess the whole village? Is it your vote, like what will we decide? Is it up to?
Yeah, the board decides.
How do you get a sense? I think you're getting the sense. The
Well,
way,
I mean, truthfully, it's, we have meetings and residents come and they speak and they give us their opinion. I mean, I think I'm gonna, like, at this point, table this so we can all kind of digest it and possibly, I mean, everything's gonna kill me, but probably reopen it again, maybe, I don't know, so that we can, I don't know, do you guys feel we should?
Well, I
reopen
think
it?
for the residents that aren't here, they do have an opportunity to email us
Yeah.
and to give us their opinion, so.
we will live.
Very well, then.
It's stop it open.
We're down to see.
People who have the opportunity to say what's wrong, they have to come that one type of other, make sure that their voice is heard. So there are a lot of avenues besides this public forum with residents and have a voice. And they seek that out.
I think, I mean, my feeling is that we should probably keep this public hearing open and see if anybody else, obviously people are gonna walk away from this if people are interested. We've been posting it, we've posted it on social media, we've sent it emails. I would give it another window of people, you know, give people the opportunity to email. People may come back after this and have more feedback, I'd love to hear, and then we're gonna make a decision. Cindy, you had one to read.
Yes,
Sorry,
there's a
no.
caller also, so
What's
do the
that?
caller first to see if
You
the
have a
caller,
caller? Yeah. Except we're not gonna be able to. Oh, well.
hopefully I can hear them.
And the
Hi, caller, do you have a question or comment? Caller number 4. Do you have a question or comment? Okay, so this came through email. My name is Catherine Montezem, and I reside at One Shen Court in the Village of Poquat with my husband and children for over 25 years. We are unable to attend tonight's public hearing because of work-related commitments, but would like to voice our support of prohibiting short-term rental agreements in our village. Short-term renters have no stake in the community and therefore no reason to care about the neighborhood around them in a meaningful way. Zoning code laws keep hotels out of residential neighborhoods and exist to accommodate the inevitable disruptions of tourism. Illegal short-term rentals ignore zoning restrictions and make virtually any resident into a hotel party house. We would support legislation prohibiting short-term rentals entirely and recommend that fines for non-compliance be substantial. Yeah, Catherine Watson.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion, public hearing open for October.
Yes, until the next, until the October meeting.
Until the next one, so that'll give everybody an opportunity, and then I can finish it. That's ample time, would you agree? Yeah, all right, so, motion to keep the public hearing open until the next meeting. All in favor, wait, second. So move. Second. All in favor? I'm gonna get it. It's only my third meeting, so. All right. That's it for public hearing, so if you guys want to look at the resolution, awesome. If not, I want to thank everybody who came and participated. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Having a break? Well, no? You want to take a break? No, let's do a resolution. Yeah. Bye, honey bun. Okay.
You don't need me.
All right, so one more thing, guys, one more thing. Sorry, time out. One more thing.
Oh, really?
We have to finish our meeting.
We're working on it.
It has to be recorded, so if you guys wanna hang out and talk, it's gotta be that way. Sorry.
Like kicking us out?
No, I'm not kicking you out, but you have to stay here and be quiet or I'm kicking you out.
Mike.
Thank you guys.
Mike.
You guys are awesome.
Oh, my guy. Lost that specific one. Like one was yours. Yeah.
I got it. I got it. I read that.
It is freezing in here. I said, I don't think you're not cold. I am frozen right now.
I'm never cold anymore. I used to always do the
Hey, I didn't even see you.
How are you?
The big day's coming soon, right?
So, would be a, first look, I'm trying to get out there. There's an ongoing violation right now. Okay.
And, I'm sorry, what's the first question? Yeah, the board has not followed the policy.
Same for the resolutions and everything, huh?
You're all right, folks.
That's just mean.
Thanks, Jeremy.
I'm looking around,
All right.
all of you.
Let's wrap it up. So we got our, oh wait, I forgot to say public comments, so that was public comment.
No,
All right. Right, now we're up to resolution. All right, you ready? Okay, resolution number 092022-1, resolution adopting September 8th, 2022 agenda as printed. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Resolution 09-2022-2, resolution accepting the monthly reports from September 8th, 2022. So moved.
Second,
All
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll get it.
Resolution number 02-3, resolution adopting by work session order. So moved.
Second, all in favor? Okay.
Jackie, are you want me to go?
Okay. Resolution 09-2022-4, resolution adopting the minutes from the July 14th, 2022 business session of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Resolution 09-2022-6, resolution adopting the minutes from August 8th, 2022, special meeting of the Board of Trustees. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? My turn?
Yes.
Resolution 09-20-7, resolution to schedule the Village of Copart. Board of- Well, because it didn't, I think someone skipped 5, no?
Skip 5.
Skipped 5. I thought that's what we did.
I thought you were.
Did you just read 6? She read 6, but we skipped 5. All right, I'm gonna do 5. Resolution 09-2022-5, resolution adopting August 8th, 20 special meeting of the board agenda as printed.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Resolution 09-2022-7, resolution to schedule the Village of Hopewell Board of Trustees work session meeting beginning at 6 p.m. on October 13th, 2022. The business meeting to follow immediately. So moved.
All in favor?
Resolution number 09-02-8, resolution to authorize chief code enforcement officer Frank Caple advertise the code enforcement for auctions upset price of $6,000. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Resolution.
Offset price is a term for a minimum price.
Resolution 09-2022-9, resolution to decrease by $8,000 GL code A1620 Village Hall and increase by $8,000 to A511 0.4 street maintenance, decreases by $14,258.18, and GL code A917 fund balance restriction unassigned. So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 09-2022-10, resolution adopting the Village of Poquat special events policy. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Resolution number 09-2022-11, resolution approving both the planning board and ZBA for and the SCVOA municipal training on October 12th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Resolution 09-2022-12, resolution allowing Clerk Slider to order parking, boat rack, and mooring stickers. So moved.
All in favor?
Resolution number 0.
Oh, we gotta read them.
Gotta read them.
9 unpaid bills, Axe Creatives, $2,823, Call Ahead, $270, Lund Valve Testing, $147, Printing Plus Graphics, $250, Staples, $82.96, Verizon, $60.70, Wood Kingdom, $6,090.45, for a total of $9,724.11. 5 unpaid bills, Call Ahead, $19.29, Dog Waste Depot, $216.87, General Code Publishing, $1,195, Landscaping by Gasper, $1,933.33, Wellsback Electric, $474.20, for a total of $3,838.69. Credit card, AutoZone, $173.79, Build a Sign, $59.60, for a total of $233.39. More credit card charges, Amazon, 8689, 2605. And there was a rebate for points for $100, so the total was $12.94. 12 unpaid bills, Axe Creatives, $100, Big Yank Cleaning, $400, Construction Technology, $195.15, Dave's Tree Service, $300, Eastern Environmental, $2,600, Optimum, $135.59, Dolores Parish for reimbursement for the website, $1,266.03, PSE&G, $409.48, PSE&G 1415, Small Business Management 553.54, Wex Bank 218.26, Winter Brothers $9,443.50 for a total of $15,635.70. 4 unpaid bills, Canon Financial 129, PSE&G 423.54, PSE&G 4636, Tony Bertolotti 250 for a total of $848.90. First National Visa, USPS for stamps 243.60. 9 unpaid bills, Ace Hardware 82.77, Construction Technologies 195.15, Earthworm and Son 6,200. NYS Society of Municipal Finance Officers, $40. Pavemaster Asphalt and Sealing, $14,000. Precision Enterprise, $1,650. Print Solutions, $668.28. Winter Brothers, $9,443.50. Wood Kingdom, $2,356.33 for a total of $34,636.03. 7 unpaid bills. It's actually 5 unpaid bills. Call Ahead, 205.71. Canon Financial, 129. R. Lenny Plumbing, 925. Taylor Rental, 933.30. Verizon Wireless, $60.82 for a total of $2,253.83.
Resolution number 08-0.
All in favor? Oh, I gotta adjourn. Okay, you guys don't want to say anything else? Motion to adjourn at 7:46.
Oops, sorry. It's okay.
No move.
Second.
All in favor?